Hey everyone, and welcome to Nico's World, where we discuss all current events happening. I'm Nico. Let's jump right in. Okay, as we've all seen and heard about the Capitol riot that happened on January 6th, we now realize how crazy things were. And now the FBI, they are making their rounds, and they have a long list of people who have been charged. Over 300 people have been charged. A South Carolina man bragged in a group chat saying that he will disguise himself as anti-fascist or Antifa. And during the Capitol riot, he succeeded in assaulting officers, stealing police gear. The man here, his name is William Robert Norwood III, and he told his plan saying that I will dress in all black and I'll look just like Antifa. I'll get away with anything. And so, day or so after the riot, Norwood sent an update in his group chat saying, I got away with things that others were shot or arrested for. Then he went on saying that the cop shot a female, then allowed Antifa Trump supporters to assault him. I was one of them. I was there and I took his stuff. I got a nice helmet, body armor, and I disarmed a cop. He claimed that once he changed out of Antifa gear, he was then targeted by police officers. He said he fought 4 cops and they did nothing after he put on his red hat. So the FBI was alerted by a family member of Norwood. And now Norwood faces charges of violent entry, disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds, obstruction of justice, theft of government property, and other counts. One of the main questions were, where did everyone come from? Where did most of these people come from? And most of the people came from Texas, New York, Florida, Pennsylvania. It was said so far that 26 Texans were charged. 22 people from New York, Pennsylvania, and Florida both had at least 20. I'm sure there's more by now. Then there was a question of how many servicemen were there. How many people from the military servicemen were there? How many law enforcement officers were there? And so far we know at least 5 of those law enforcement officers were at the time in the riot and employed. There was also firemen, military men, Marines, Air Force members. There was said to be at least 27 veterans, and 3 of them were enlisted in the military army. Of the veterans, 12 served in the U.S. Marines, 10 served in the Army, 2 served in the Navy, and 2 served in the Air Force. authorities have connected at least 35 rioters to extreme groups, including the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, the Three Percenters, and Texas Freedom Force. Here you will see pictures of the Proud Boys, pictures of the Oath Keepers, the Three Percenters, Texas Freedom Force. Most of the flags that were flown are seen here. And it says two of the oldest rioters were two 70-year-old men. One seen here. This guy, his name is Lonnie Kaufman, an Alabama man who authorities say brought a car full of weapons and explosives. Let's go over a few of the charges of all of the, well, not all, but a good number of the people. You may have to pause to read some of this, but we'll start here. Now, most of the rioters have common charges, and we're going to go through and read the names and a few of the charges. Here we have Robert William Norwood III, and his charges are entering a restricted building or grounds, violent entry and disorderly conduct, obstruction of justice, theft of government property. Next we have James Matthew Horning, the guy smoking a doobie. His charges are entering a restricted building or grounds without lawful authority, disorderly or disruptive conduct. Zachary John Wilson. His charges are entering restricted building or grounds. John Stephen Anderson. His charges are assault, resist or impede a police officer, theft of government property, obstruction of law enforcement, entering a restricted building, violent entry to Capitol. Andrew Allen Hernandez, entering a restricted building or grounds on 2 counts, obstruction of justice, violent entry and disorderly conduct on 2 counts. I see this guy likes to do things in twos. Anna Morgan Lloyd, entering a restricted building or grounds, disorderly or disruptive conduct that impedes or disrupts the orderly conduct of government business. Jeremy Grosclose, obstruction of law enforcement during civil disorder, obstruction of justice or Congress, entering a restricted building or grounds, violent entry and disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds. Luke Coffey, assault of federal law enforcement officer with a dangerous weapon, probably the crutch you see here in the picture, interference with law enforcement officers during civil disorder, obstruction of an official proceeding, unlawful entry, disorderly conduct. Alexander Bennett Shepard, charges entering or remain in a restricted building or grounds, disorderly conduct that disturbs the orderly conduct of business. Tristan Chandler Stevens, his charges are forcibly assaulting, resisting or impeding officer or employees, knowingly entering a restricted building, violent entry and disorderly conduct, disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building. Ryan Ashlock, corruptly obstruct, influence, or impede an official proceeding before Congress, obstruct, impede, or interfere with a law enforcement officer during the commission of a civil disorder. Joseph Lino Padilla, charges entering a restricted building or grounds, disorderly conduct or disruptive conduct, engage in physical violence against a person or property in any restricted building. Thomas Webster, charges are forcibly assaulting an officer, obstructing or impeding an officer in the performance of official duties, entering a restricted building, disorderly or disruptive conduct. Here we have Philip Grillo, charges entering a restricted building, disorderly or disruptive conduct that impedes or disrupts the orderly conduct of government business. Lori Ann Vinson, charges are entering a restricted building or grounds, demonstrating on Capitol grounds, disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds. Daniel Ray Caldwell, obstruction of law enforcement during civil disorder, knowingly entering or remaining in any restricted building or grounds without lawful authority, violent entry and disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds, and assaulting, resisting, or impeding an officer or employees. Joseph Fisher, obstruction of law enforcement during civil disorder, knowingly entering or remaining in any restricted building or grounds without lawful authority, violent entry and disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds, and obstruction of justice or Congress. Kelly Meggs, charges are aiding and abetting, conspiracy, destruction of government property, obstruction of an official proceeding, and entering a restricted building or grounds. Graydon Young, charges are conspiracy, obstruction of an official proceeding, and aiding and abetting, destruction of government property, and aiding and abetting, entering and remaining in a restricted building or grounds, tampering with documents or proceedings. Sandra Parker, aiding and abetting, conspiracy, destruction of government property, obstruction of an official proceeding, entering restricted building or grounds. Benny Parker, aiding and abetting, conspiracy, destruction of government property, obstruction of an official proceeding, entering restricted building or grounds, obstructing an investigation. Next we have Jonathan Gennaro Mayes, assault or resist or impede an officer, obstruct, impede, or interfere with an officer during a civil disorder, knowingly entering a restricted building, engage in disorderly or disruptive conduct. Leo Brent Bozzell, corruptly obstructing, influencing, and impeding an official proceeding, entering a restricted building and grounds, disorderly conduct. I'm Nico. Thanks for watching. Leave a like and a comment, and I'll see you in the next video.